Hey folks, I'm Sinus, and I'm bringing you the Variant Today Hanabi video series on YouTube. We're in day 3, and I've got a really good game for you today. Um, so originally I thought this was just going to be kind of a no variant teaching game because there was a bit of an issue with the Variant Today generator. This was originally supposed to be Prism ones and pink, which doesn't exist. But the creator fixed it, and it's pink ones and Prism. So this is a pretty interesting variant. So the Prism suit, which is over here, if you hover over it, you'll see that the Prism 1 is red, and the Prism 2 is yellow, the Prism 3 is green, the Prism 4 is blue, and the Prism 5 is purple. And so it is an evolving suit as you play it, right? And you can see in our starting hands, we have Prism 1 here and Prism 4 here, right? So they are two different colors, but they're the same suit, which can make them a little bit challenging to play, and it gets really interesting when you start doing finesses. So, for example, if this Prism 1 was on finesse, a yellow clue on Prism 2, which is in fact yellow, could finesse a Prism 1 that is red and still be a true finesse. And so there's kind of this extra um, mental element to that part of the game. And then we've also got pink ones, which is challenging in its own right. So I think we did do pink, maybe it was day 1. So pink suits are touched by all number clues. So it doesn't matter if you clue 2, 3, 4, or 5, they will always touch, a pink card. And in this case, all the ones in the game, no matter what color they are always going to be pink. And so even if you try to do a 5 save or a 2 save, it's going to touch all the ones in the hand as well. And just to add insult to injury, whenever you're playing with pink ones, you can't actually give a 1 clue either. So if I open up the hypothetical here, you can see that we cannot give ones in order to avoid. So there are some clever ways to get around this. The easiest one is to use color, but you could also, when it is obvious that no finesse or bluff is taking place, clue a a card with a number and give kind of a soft lie to someone and force them to play it. So if, for example, here, let's right. So what we could do is cards or Prism 1. Okay, let's say Dobie gives Sinus 2. Right, this is a lie, but what will happen is Sinus will say, oh, I don't see any finesse cards or anything. So this is probably blue too, and it's just picking up a couple extra cards. And Sinus will go to play it and be, whoa, surprised. But since we can't clue ones, sometimes this is the way that you have to. So that has the pink ones has its own variant specific set of conventions, creative and interesting. Anyway, so that's a bit about the variants. Let's jump in and see how this went. This was, oh, it was such a good game. So I'm playing with Dobie and Piano Bluke, and Piano is also does a YouTube series. You should totally check them out. Bringing Hanabi to the masses way better than I ever could, and doing like charity streams and all that. Piano lives the Hanabi life. So it was a real pleasure to play with both of them. So immediately we get a blue clue on this Prism 4. And so this is, Sinus has to take a look around, or sorry, rather, Dobie has to take a look around here and see if Sinus has a playable card. So this could be a 4 double bluff, but since Sinus does not have a playable card here, this must be a 4 charm instead. So it's calling for Dobie's 4th finesse slot. And it successfully plays. And so when the fourth slot plays instead of the first slot, Sinus knows that this is not a 4 double bluff, but in fact a 4 charm. Now, the very interesting thing here is that uh, blue happens to be the color of Prism 4, and none of the other Prism cards are blue except for rank 4. So this could be blue 4, or it could be Prism 4, and this is some other good blue card here. But Sinus doesn't know the exact identity of this card, just the rank of 4. So Sinus sees a way to get these ones without actually cluing the roundabout way that we talked about earlier, and I can actually do it twice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a 5-color ejection. So I'm going to give this red clue, which focuses this, and there's no way that this is calling for red 5 to play. So Piano must respond and say, "Oh, I'm being told to eject. This is not a finesse. I have to let Dobie know that this card is not a playable red 2 or anything like that." And so by playing their second slot, this is known to be exactly red 5. Now, unlike the charm earlier, the Prism one is red, so this is known to be exactly red 5, which is a nice additional benefit. So this gets 2 cards exactly known, which is great. Dobie is going to go ahead and give purple here, which is nice. We also mentioned in the review that Dobie could do an unknown duplicate discharge here on Sinus. So normally we do our best not to bad touch multiple cards, but Linus will see, oh, this calls for yellow 2, but there's a second yellow 2 that is touched here. And so this must be calling for something different. It's calling for a discharge of my third unknown slot. And so Sinus would play purple 1, and Piano would have to discard this card to know exactly what it is, and then eventually it would play. So that would be another interesting avenue that could have been pursued here. But instead we get purple, which is fine. And Sinus is going to continue with another discharge that was planned. Again, Piano needs to indicate to Dobie that this is not a green 1 or anything like that, and has to discharge from their second finesse slot. And this gets green 5 exactly known, and it gets blue 1 to play, which is great. So we have 2 5s with exactly known colors, which is great. We also pick up this red 4 that could be otherwise pretty difficult to get until much later in the game. So let's see, this 2 clue, this is meant by Dobie just to get yellow 2 to play, and they want to fix this later. But Sinus sees that there's some sort of duplication going on here, and that this isn't normally the way we would do things. And so I think that realistically I made a mistake here, but it's a good mistake. This ends up getting Prism 1 to play. This is the only... so Sinus is kind of responding to this weird duplication and letting Piano know, hey, something funny happened here. We're not exactly sure what. Piano trusts Dobie, though, that this was a playable 2 and decides to play it. Alright, so now Dobie's going to give an additional 2 to kind of distract away from this one and to preserve the other cards in Piano's hand for as long as possible and protect their own hand. Sinus has purple 1 to play, so that all looks fine. And so this is great. This fixes a lot of things. This confused me a little bit when it was given, because there's kind of 2 different ways to go about this. So the yellow clue gets yellow 3, and it has the advantage of also indicating that this 2 is a trash card, which is great. So this clue accomplishes a lot of things. It also, another way that it could have happened from Sinus's perspective is to give threes here. And this is still a play on yellow 3 that gets a lot of other cards touched and could be really beneficial. So in the back of my mind, when yellow is given as a preference to 3 here, I suspect that I have blue 3 in my hand, or maybe green 3. More likely blue 3 because it's already touched. But I wouldn't want to read too much into that because this clue is really strong that fixes this other 2 that's not going to be playable. Um, so Sinus sees, okay, we got yellow 3. I'd better get yellow 4 because I don't know if the 4 that I got is blue or Prism, so I want to hang on to this as long as possible. There we go, 3 plays. And now Dobie, what's going on with Dobie? Dobie doesn't really want me to discard blue 4 and sees that maybe there's a finesse that I could give that might be really useful and help preserve this green 3 that otherwise isn't really clueable using Sinus's hand right now or anything else. Especially since the connecting blue 1 is right here, this 3 might be able to be gotten from Dobie's perspective in a very short order. So now I have my favorite play of the game. My favorite play of the game by me, anyway. I'm going to give a replay double ignition here. And if you know what that is, see if you can spot it. So technically, Sinus is in double discard right now. They cannot discard. So Sinus is going to say, wow, Dobie had the option to play yellow 4, but chose to discard instead. This is a really strong signal to Sinus that, hey, you should not discard this. Dobie thinks it's really important. And even though I don't know what it is, I'm going to try and hang on to that for sure. So Sinus has to give a clue here, and there's quite a few things that could be done. So this 2 is not really any good. It's just going to be trash. So Sinus isn't worried about saving anything in Piano's hand. If Sinus just wants to hard stall, they could just give 5s here or something like that. But instead, I'm going to give a really, really, really dumb clue here. And so this 4 is globally known to everyone at the table. This is already yellow 4, and Sinus clues the yellow 4 again. And the only reason to give a clue this bad is if you want something very specific to happen. And it doesn't look like a stall because if Sinus just wants to stall, they would give 5s. And Dobie also knows that something's up here, right? There's probably a way to get the 1 out of Piano's hand here. And so this is just really, really odd and a really bad waste of a clue. And so Piano is going to respond by playing their finesse slot, and Dobie will also play their finesse slot. So this is a double ignition, which is really cool. And so this was great. This gets this 1, which is kind of tough to get out of here, and it also gets this Prism 3 that matches. It just worked so well. The only problem with this in 3-player is that I haven't really given anybody an opportunity to save this card, but it works out. I think Dobie had the option of discarding a playable card or something like that if this was a critical card or something really important, and they chose not to do that. So I don't think this is critical, and I'm okay to discard right now. And that's fine. Piano is able to discard known trash, so this 3 is pretty well insulated. Nice. Dobie's going to play their 4, and Sinus sees that Piano no longer has any trash available, so it's time to try and hang on to this 3. And so we have 1-3 in the trash. So I gotta save this. Um, if I give blue, I'm gonna bad touch this pink one, right? Or this green one that functions as pink. Um, but I could also give threes, which is going to save this three, and it's going to be 100% known that this is green three. And I'm also going to pick up purple three, which is um, definitely worth saving right now. And the only one that the only issue with this is oh wait, that's next turn. Sinus is going to get this 5 because it costs 1 clue and it gets 1 clue back. This is good. So this prompts purple 2. This could have maybe been a finesse, but we've been hanging out around 0 to 1 clues, so I don't think there was a good opportunity for Dobie to prompt this purple 2 earlier than this. So Sinus is going to play by the book and treat this as a prompt and not a finesse. And it works. And Piano makes a really good heads up play here and says, this is definitely purple 3 because it caused purple 2 to play and not Prism 4 or anything like that. So this is definitely known to be purple 3, and Piano wants to hang on to this purple 4, sees that there's trash right next to it. So giving this as purple, this purple can't bomb as anything. It's just, hey, you have to wait for this. And I love the notes, LOL P4 on that. And Dobie's going to discard as expected. So Sinus is going to go ahead and make that 3 save now, because this card might be good, and I definitely have something to do, and these folks can... there's trash here if something needs to be indicated to Sinus. Okay, so purple 3 plays. Again, Dobie has the option of playing purple 4, but they are going to do what's called a generation discard. This one is not a screen discard on Sinus, right? So this card is already chop moved. This card isn't worth chop moving. This 4 is saying, hey Sinus, you gotta save this 5 right here. And Dobie is graciously giving me a clue in order to do that. And this is kind of what I was planning to do when I first gave this 3 clue earlier, right? So I'm potentially bad touching blue 3, which is okay. Piano will know what to do with that. And also this pink 1, which kind of stinks. But I see that we're going to have to save blue 5 anyway. And so whenever Piano gets the 5 clue, this is going to be cleared up as a 1, and since all the 1s are played on the stacks, this will resolve as trash pretty handily. Even if we end up locking Piano's hand, they'll have trash to discard, which is really, really good. So we get that done exactly right here, and this is now known to be a 1. And funnily enough, with all the negative information and 5s that were played and out there and everything, this is known to be blue 5 straight away, which is awesome. Okay. So Dobie sees that there is that we've got this Prism 5, and we've got to start. Dobie's got to start thinking about how to get this Prism 4 out of Sinus's hand. And unfortunately, what we've got here is a blocking purple card, so there's not really a good way for Dobie to do this right now, so they're just going to play, which is good. Plenty of opportunities have been had to save this card. Nobody wants it. Okay, fine. We'll get rid of it. Purple 2 discards. That's fine. And now Dobie sees that if purple is given to Piano here, Sinus is going to probably misplay this blue 3, which might not be the worst thing in the world because we don't have any strikes yet, and we have a duplicated blue 3, and that might send a good signal, but you never know when you're going to need your strikes. So Dobie's going to go ahead and actually let that go for now and have Sinus save this 5 instead. And Sinus realizes from this that this card is definitely not Prism 4. Otherwise, this a purple clue here to prompt this is very, very good. There is a world where this was blue 4 and this was Prism 4. But that is now known by Sinus not to be the case, and that'll be important in a minute or two. So Sinus does the save. Unfortunately, we lose red 3 here, which is not the greatest, but there's not really too much to be done about it. There's not too much else to clue. Fortunately, we have 4-5. We have really good pace, so as long as we don't get bottom decked by red 3, we'll be all right. So here we go. This is interesting. So from Sinus's perspective, this could maybe look like a save on Prism 4, but it is known by Piano not to be that because the Prism 4 is in Sinus's hand. And so Piano is going to be able to play that blue 2 immediately. So Sinus now knows that they have Prism 4 in their hand, and so it's most likely here, but it could also be here. And so now Dobie gives this clue, prompting Sinus's blue 3, right? And so this clue really got in my head, and I spent a long time thinking about this one, because why not just give this prompt earlier if Prism 4 was here the whole time? And this was a real nail biter for me. But I decided to trust Dobie and to play what I'm told to play, which is the prompt, and it's blue 3. Now, worst case scenario, this could have been blue 4 and it bombs. But I know it's not blue 5. I know it's not a critical card that won't play. So I'm going to do what I'm told. And guess what? Piano already knows this is exactly blue 3. So they're just going to chuck it. And then there's the discard from Dobie. Sinus is like, okay, here's Prism 4. There's Prism 5. Great. So 4s here does not work because it's going to touch a whole bunch of useless cards in Sinus's hand. So it's much better to give this as blue. And I have a good yuck about this because, oh my gosh, here was blue 4 the whole time. And I spent the whole game wondering where blue 4 and Prism 4 were. Blue 4 plays, blue 5 plays. Discard. So this is cool. This might look to an inexperienced player like a prompt on this card, which has been clued green. But if you'll remember way back at the beginning of the game, this was used as a 5-color ejection. So this is always known by Dobie as green 5. It should stay green 5 unless it gets a number clue. So giving this as green is shifts Dobie's focus down here to a finesse instead. And Piano cannot play this green 3 right now, but knows that it's definitely green 3 and is going to say, hey Sinus, let's continue this and get green 4. Boom, boom, boom. Great. There it is. And very luckily, we pick up red 3 here, which is going to be a little troublesome to get because here we have a whole bunch of blocking pink cards. So if somebody tries to give me 3, it's going to be a wrong focus on the chop card. And if somebody tries to give me red, these Prism cards are both also red. So I have 2 spectacularly bad blockers in my hand that's going to make this 3 difficult to get. I guess so. Dobie knows, I believe, that this is probably a good red 4. So maybe they could give red this turn. I'm not really sure. But they decide to discard and... Oh, never mind. They can't because there's no red 2 yet. Speaking of, there it is. Sinus is going to go ahead and play this and let Piano take care of red 2. So this was kind of wonky. This is Piano's really weird solution to trying to get this stuck red 3 out of here. So, like Sinus's clue on the second clue on the yellow 4 earlier, this looks like a replay double ignition. So Dobie's gonna play red 2, and Sinus is gonna think, oh my gosh, did I just draw red 3 or purple 5 or something? I should play this. And I do. And it bombs, which I think everybody expected from that clue, which is fine. But you'll now see that this gets rid of a red card that's in a pesky position, and it's going to make it a little bit easier to get this 3 later. So it turns out that being lied to and making a mistake or a bomb here was kind of the best thing that could have happened. So Piano says, okay, go ahead and play purple 5, and now, awesome, this red 3 is on finesse, right where we want it, and there's a great clue to get it. The problem is that Piano does not believe that this is red 4. In no universe does Piano believe this is red 4. But Sinus is going to respond to this clue no matter what with red 3, which, whew, got that out of the hand. That's great. And now we just need to figure out how to get the rest of this done. And the issue is that our pace, which was really good earlier, is now really getting down to the wire here. We can potentially make one mistake, but Dobie's got 3 cards to play in their hand, 3 playable cards, 2 of which have to be played by Dobie. Sinus has 1, and Piano has 0 to 1. So, as I mentioned, Piano doesn't believe that this is red 4 because there were a lot of duplication possibilities. So Piano says to Dobie, hey, play slot 5. And Dobie says no. Dobie says that's not what I want to do. So this clue calls for red 4 to play, and Dobie is responding to Piano and saying, no, dude, you really do have red 4 in your hand. It's one of these 2 cards. And now Sinus is like, oh man, I gotta get this red 4 out. So I'm gonna do something similar to what Piano did and give a positional clue using a pink card and say, hey, Piano, please play slot 3. And Piano says, no, Dobie, play slot 5, please, which is still going to work out. And just absolute trolling at the end of the game here. This has been known as red 5 all game, so this is just a screwy clue, but Dobie knows what's up, and we get max score on this. This was a super exciting game with lots of really cool tech and lots of challenges to overcome. It was a nail biter from Sinus's chair the whole game. This one actually, I didn't think that playing cards could get my pulse rate up, but this one definitely did, especially right at the end there. So really, really well done, well played game, and it was a pleasure to play with really good players with a lot of trust there. A lot of trust was required for this one. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I think I got Chimneys coming up, which is gonna be. Ugh. I've never played Chimneys, and it's got its own set of rules and everything, so I gotta brush up on that. It may be a couple days until I get that one up, but for now, oh, I guess there's one other interesting thing. So you can see other scores on the same game. So there was me, Dobie, and Piano playing, and we got 30. What I thought was funny is everybody either 30'd or 0'd this, and and nothing in between. It's either you nail it or you get really confused and desynced. It was a tough variant. It was a great game. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll be back with day 4 before you know it. Hope you're having a good 2023 so far. I'll see you next time.